Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. He Krishna karuna sindhu dinabandhu jagatpate gopesha gopika kanta radha kanta namosute. Tapta kanchana gaurangi radhe vrindavaneshwari rishavanu sute devi pranamami hari priye. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayesha Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Today we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 10, the battle between the demigods and demons, verse number 38. Please repeat. Teṣāṁ padāghāta-rathāṅga-cūrṇitād. Teṣāṁ padāghāta-rathāṅga-cūrṇitād. Āyodhanāt ulbaṇa utthitaś tadā. Āyodhanāt ulbaṇa utthitaś tadā. reṇur diśaḥ kham dyumaṇiṁ chādayan. reṇur diśaḥ kham dyumaṇiṁ chādayan. nyavartatāsṛk-srutibhiḥ pariplutāt. nyavartatāsṛk-srutibhiḥ pariplutāt. Others? Mataji's? Any? No? Okay. Teṣāṁ. Of all the people engaged on the battlefield, padāghāta, because of beating on the ground by the legs of the demons and demigods, ratha-aṅga, and by the wheels of the chariots, cūrṇitāt, which was made into pieces of dust, āyodhanād, from the battlefield, ulbaṇa, very forceful, utthitas, rising, tadā, at that time, reṇuḥ, the dust particles, diśaḥ, all directions, kham, outer space, dyumaṇiṁ, up to the sun, also, chādayan, covering all of space up to that, nyavartata, dropped floating in the air, āsṛk, of blood, sṛutibhiḥ, by particles, pariplutāt, because of being widely sprinkled. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation in English. I'm sorry, I don't speak very much Hindi. Thoda si Hindi aati hai. Thoda si Hindi aati hai. Okay, English. Because of the impact on the ground of the legs of the demons and demigods and the wheels of the chariots, particles of dust flew violently into the sky and made a dust cloud that covered all directions of outer space, as far as the sun. But when the particles of dust were followed by drops of blood being sprinkled all over space, the dust cloud could no longer float in the sky. Okay. Purport. The cloud of dust covered the entire horizon, but when drops of blood sprayed up as far as the sun, the dust cloud could no longer float in the sky. A point to be observed here is that although the blood is stated to have reached the sun, it is not said to have reached the moon. Apparently, therefore, as stated elsewhere in Srimad-Bhagavatam, the sun, not the moon, is the planet nearest the earth. We have already discussed this point in many places. The sun is first, then the moon, then Mars, Jupiter, and so on. The sun is supposed to be 93 million miles above the surface of the earth. And from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we understand that the moon is 1,600,000 miles above the sun. Therefore, the distance between the earth and the moon would be about 95 million miles. So, if a space capsule were traveling at the speed of 18,000 miles per hour, how could it reach the moon in 4 days? At that speed, going to the moon would take at least 7 months. That a space capsule on a moon excursion has reached the moon in 4 days is therefore impossible. And so ends Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Teṣāṁ padāghāta-rathāṅga-cūrṇitād āyodhanād ulbaṇa utthitaS tadā reṇur kham dyumaṇiṁ chādayan nyavartatāsṛk-srutibhiḥ pariplutāt. Mukam karati vācālam bhangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurun Dīnataranam. Hare Krishna. First to say, I'm very happy to be here in Mumbai again after several months. Back in Srila Prabhupada's office, and to be with all of you. And I'm happy to see how the temple is thriving. So many people coming, so many devotees. This is very wonderful, certainly very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and to all the acharyas. This verse is following several verses which were not read because of no purport, but we can read something and summarize something. Yesterday we heard that that Airavata, the king of elephants, of course, with Lord Indra, is appearing. Indra is appearing just like the sun rising from Udayagiri, where there are reservoirs of water. So one thing we're getting in this passage, in this section of the Bhagavatam, is a bit of geography, cosmic geography, together with descriptions of major personalities of the cosmos. Surrounding Lord Indra, verse 26, king of heaven, were the demigods, seated on various types of vehicles and decorated with flags and weapons. Present among them were Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and other rulers of various planets, along with their associates. So these names, Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and so on, are important figures in the Rig Veda. There are many hymns to these devatas, especially, of course, to Indra. And in the Rig Veda, Indra is very much of a hero. And his special accomplishment in the Rig Veda is the killing of Vritra. Well, when we get the account of the killing of Vritra by Indra in the Bhagavatam, what sort of a picture of Indra do we get? Yes, he's still a hero, and then again, he seems to be something less of a hero than Vritra. How is this? Because we find out that Vritra, who is Vritra? Vritra is a great Vaishnava. Rig Veda does not tell you that. At least I have not seen. In Rig Veda, he's simply a demon. And why is he a demon? Because he holds back the waters of the universe. The universe becomes dried out because of Vritra. And then he is destroyed by Indra. The waters can again flow, and then everything is again very nice. Next verse. The demigods and demons came before each other and reproached one another with words piercing to the heart. Then they drew near and began fighting face to face in pairs. And then the next several verses are going to list each of the demigods with whom are they fighting. But in this verse, verse 27, I think it's interesting to consider. Te nyonyam abhisangsritya kshipanto mramavir mita ahvayanto vishanto agre yuyudhur dvanvayodina. They reproached each other with words piercing to the heart. Marmabi mita. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 17, there is explanation by Lord Krishna of austerity in the mode of goodness. And he gives, unlike other passages in that section, which give explanations of practices in only one verse, in this section, he gives 3 verses about austerities in the mode of goodness. Austerities of the body, austerities of speech, and austerities of the mind. Each of them in the three modes, but here in the mode of goodness. And he speaks about austerity in the mode of goodness of speech. And in this, he is explaining about restraint of speech, essentially. Here, the demons and the demigods are not restraining their speech. Rather, they are throwing, like weapons, their speech at each other. We sometimes see this in politics. Sometimes, most of the time. Right? politicians are throwing accusations at each other. We also see on the international side, recently we have seen some very sharp speech being thrown between two countries. There was North Korea and United States, and the whole world has been shaking. Is this going to lead to a fight? Because it is part of the ritual of battle that prior to the battle, there must be some insults. That's the practice. And it's a kind of ritual, as is the battle itself. In traditional warfare, as we heard yesterday, nowadays warfare has degenerated. It has degenerated to the condition of fighting anyone and everyone, even without preparation. It's called terrorism. Essentially, fighting today has taken the form of terrorism. It was already anticipated in the Mahabharata, in the case of Ashwatthama, right? Ashwatthama, he was already a partial manifestation of Shiva. But on the night of, I believe, the 17th day of battle, perhaps it was the 18th day of battle. 18th day of battle? 18th day of battle. Up to this, every evening, the warriors on either side, after the battle stopped, what would they do? They would go and visit each other on the opposite side. Very nice culture. During the day, we will fight and kill each other, but in the evening, we will go and visit each other, and we will exchange words, perhaps insulting words, but still words. But here, on the 18th night, what does Ashwatthama do? He becomes fully possessed by Lord Shiva. Avesha, he becomes possessed by Shiva. And then, what does he do? He goes into the camp of the Pandavas and simply kills, simply devastates. He goes on a rampage. So this kind of fighting is what we see today. And this is the sort of fighting which goes on after there is no more speech. The Bhagavatam is transcendental speech. And by hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam, one of the benefits is, aside from attraction to the Lord, we can become free from the danger of fighting. So here we hear of the fight between the demigods and the demons, and you could say in this situation, it is their duty. What do demigods do? They fight demons. What do demons do? They fight demigods. And so it is a kind of ritual, and that comes apparent in the next few verses. So King Maharaj Bali fought with Indra, Kartikeya with Taraka, Varuna with Heti, and Mitra with Praheti. Yamaraj fought with Kalanaba, Vishvakarma with Mayadanava, Tvashta with Shambhara, and the sun god with Virochana, and so on. The demigod Aparajita fought with Namuchi, and the two Ashvini Kumara brothers fought with Rishabharva. The sun god fought with the 100 sons of Maharaj Bali, headed by Bana, and the moon god fought with Rahu. The demigod controlling air fought with Puloma, and Shumba and Nishumba fought the supremely powerful material energy, Durga Devi, who is called Bhadrakali. So there's a nice dance going on. Just as in a dance, they will pair off and dance. So here is a fighting dance. It's a little bit of a remote connection, but the whole first 9 cantos are, of course, an anticipation of the 10th canto. Yeah? Shri Radharasa Bihari Ki Jai. It's an anticipation of the 10th canto. And in the 10th canto, what is in the center of the 10th canto? We can say it is the rasa dance. It is Krishna with his eternal consorts in a beautiful dance which goes on all night. And how long is that night? It is a night of Brahma. And that is the occasion in which Krishna displays the perfect beauty of the spiritual world. Well, here you can say is exactly the opposite. Here we have, in this world, we have demigods, we have demons, and what are they doing? They're fighting, but they're pairing off. They're doing it as something of a dance. And as a result, what happens? They're stirring up clouds. What sort of clouds? Well, clouds of dust, and what was the other substance being stirred up? Blood. Yeah. We read in current news that there is a new problem in space exploration. We hear a lot about pollution, right? There's so much pollution of so many kinds in this world. Air pollution, water pollution, sound pollution. We might want to say that sound pollution is the worst. And so the Krishna consciousness movement is for the purpose of cutting through that sound pollution and giving pure sound vibration. Yeah? But there's a new kind of pollution. Space pollution. Have you heard about this? Yeah? Yeah, since they've been sending up more and more and more of these satellites and rockets, and after a while it becomes not satellite or rocket, it becomes space junk. And this space junk, what is it doing? It's orbiting the Earth, and it's becoming more and more, and it's breaking up into little particles. In the ocean, of course, we have another sort of pollution, namely plastic. Plastic pollution, which also breaks up and which is eaten by fish. And then this is not such a problem for devotees, except maybe some in Bengal. People are eating the fish. And what is happening as a result of that? Anyway. So here in the Bhagavatam, this is also anticipated, this pollution of outer space. That's being described in this verse, where the battle is going on. The battle is going on between demons and demigods, and it's a disturbance. And this, of course, is the reason why Lord Krishna will appear, because of the disturbance, not only of the demons, but also those who need to fight against the demons. How much difference is there between the demigods and the demons, we might ask? In one sense, there's a complete difference. Yeah, they are opposites, as we heard yesterday. The demigods, they acknowledge, they worship, they surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demons, they don't do it. We heard there's 4 different types of demons, right? More acknowledgement, less acknowledgement, and so on. And we have Krishna's explanation about demonic nature in Bhagavad Gita. Now, for whom do you suppose that chapter 16, Bhagavad Gita, for whom does Krishna speak that chapter? First of all, to whom is he speaking it? He's speaking to Arjuna. Is Arjuna a demon? Is he a demigod? He's more than demigod. He's a devotee. But he's speaking to Arjuna. And who else is he speaking to? Is he speaking to the demons? What does Krishna say later about who should read or hear the Bhagavad Gita? Should the demons? No, they're not qualified. So, for whom is chapter 16 spoken? It's for us, yes. So what does that mean? If on the one side you have the qualities of the devotees, on the other you have the qualities of the demons, does Krishna speak this to us so that we can have a good laugh about the demons? Oh, look how demonic the demons are. Asatyam apratishtam te. Jagadahura nishwaram aparaspara sambhutam. Kim anyat kama haitugam. They don't accept. Asatyam, there is no reality. Apratishtam te jagadahura nishwaram, there's no Ishvara. That's not me. I certainly don't think like that. Or is there something in us that is sometimes thinking like that? As we go through spiritual life, we sometimes find that we are of 2 minds about so many things. Have you noticed? Sometimes not just 2 minds, sometimes a whole crowd of minds. What to do, yes? Pravriting cha, nivriting cha, na vidur asura, na jana vidur asura. The demons don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Sometimes do we feel like that also? What is to be done, what is not to be done? Sometimes we may feel like Arjuna. What is Arjuna's special qualification in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichami dvangsarma dharma samudacheta. Karpanya, he says, I'm confused. He admits to Krishna that he is confused. That is his qualification. So sometimes we may find ourselves confused. What is the right thing to do? What is the best thing to do to please Guru and Krishna? In this particular situation, in this particular phase of my life, on the day when Srila Prabhupada gave me initiation, he gave Bhagavatam class, and in this class he was explaining about learning how to fly an airplane. He said the Guru is like a flight instructor. flight instructor accompanies the student in the airplane many, many times until he feels that the student is ready to fly solo. This is called flying solo. I like to tell this story. Many years later, I met one devotee in Mayapur who was a flight instructor. He told me this story about one of his students. The instructor felt that this student was now ready to fly solo. So one day, it was the day for the student's lesson, he said, "Today you're flying solo." The student said, "No, not possible. I'm not ready. No, I can't do it. No, absolutely not. Forget it." The instructor said, "Don't worry. I'll always be in contact by radio. If there's any question, I'm in contact. I'll instruct you what to do." "No, I can't do it. No, I can't do it." "Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can." Finally, he convinced him. He convinced the student to fly solo. So he flew up. He flew around for some time, and he came down. He landed. Everything was good. He stopped the airplane. He got out of the airplane. He ran to this instructor, devotee. He threw himself at his instructor's feet. And he said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have taught me such a lesson." Not only the lesson about flying, but the lesson about confidence. So he was grateful. Srila Prabhupada, when he spoke about flying and flying instruction, his point was that at one point, every single one of us must fly our plane alone. We all have to fly solo. When it comes to the end of this life, then we have to fly solo. So that means every day of our lives, our preparation for that day. And every day of our lives, we get indications. If we are open, if we are sensitive, we get we get indications that that day is coming. Every day that we get some small pain in our body, that's a reminder. This is a material body. At one point, this body is going to break down. Every day that we see some living entity dying, that is a reminder that one day we will also die. This body will die. Every day that we read Srimad-Bhagavatam and we read about the foolish conditioned souls and their unfortunate ways of dying, and also about the devotees and their heroic passage, not death, but passage beyond death. Every day that we engage in Krishna consciousness, we are preparing ourselves for that time when we will be going solo. Every day we hear from Guru, from Vaishnavas, Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, Vakya, Hridaye Korya Aikya. We want to imbibe Shravana, Manana, and then Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana, it's the digestion process, right? Hearing, thinking reflecting on, and then digesting. So that's what we want to do with Srimad-Bhagavatam. We want to digest, we want to imbibe, we want to live the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So that is the invitation that we are getting. Nigamakalpataror galitang palang shukamukad amritadrapa samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam mahuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. We're being invited to drink the nectar of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is what? It's the ripened fruit. Galitam palam of what? Of nigama. What is nigama? Nigama means Veda. It literally means that which is rooted, the root. Nigama, that which goes down, the root of the tree of Vedic literature, like Rig Veda, then eventually you get the fruit. Our practice should be aiming toward that relish of Srimad-Bhagavatam. That is our aim. So in such passage as this, reading about the demigods and the demons and how they're fighting, what I find interesting about it is that there is a ritual character to it. But this is so far away from the sort of violence which goes on today. We live in an extremely violent age. Extremely violent. It's such that we become blind to it. The violence which goes on in slaughterhouses is very carefully enclosed behind closed doors. Imagine, if you will, that a law would be instituted that slaughterhouses are not banned, they can go on, but they shall be made of glass. That means it would be open to the public. People would be seeing what goes on in the slaughterhouses. And if people would be seeing what's going on in the slaughterhouses, would they just go on saying, oh, it's okay, that's all right, that's how it is, that's life? I don't think so. I think that would change. I think people would start questioning. More and more people are questioning, but not enough. In this country, of course, many people question this, and this is good. But throughout the world, some 70 billion animals are being slaughtered annually. 70 billion animals. I don't know what that is in crores. It's a lot. And people think this is normal. This is the problem. The problem is people think this is normal. This is not normal. So this is what our Krishna consciousness movement is about, is waking people up. Jeev jago, gora chanda bole, kota nidra jao maya, pisha chira kole. Waking people up to their sleeping condition, to the necessity. What is the necessity? To stop sinful activity. That's what human life is about. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada gives us a bit of cosmic geography, which would not be so easily taken on board by modern people. He is saying the moon is indeed further away than the sun, and he's suggesting by calculation that the claims that human beings landed on the moon could not be the case because of the calculations given here. The moon, the supposed moon landing took place in 1969, and Srila Prabhupada was watching this on television. They were supposedly showing this on television. And Srila Prabhupada would occasionally comment, and sometimes he would say, "They have not gone to the moon." And sometimes he would say, "They have gone to some other planet." And sometimes he would say, "Even if they have gone to the moon, they cannot stay there." In any case, in this purport, his argument by calculations from the Bhagavata's calculations suggests that it was not to the moon that was gone. I first met the devotees in 1969. So it was around this time that this, shall we say, theater of moon planet landing was going on. I was not yet aware of Srila Prabhupada's challenging of this. However, later, when I spent more time with devotees and heard more of Srila Prabhupada's teachings, then I was struck by this challenge. And what I understood was that behind this challenge that Srila Prabhupada is making about landing on the moon is a challenge to the entire program of what Prabhupada called modern civilization. And that challenge is so profound. And that challenge is being made in particular by the Srimad-Bhagavatam. As Srila Prabhupada said, it can bring about a revolution in the hearts of the readers. A revolution. So this is, revolutions are disturbing things. And that means that the Srimad-Bhagavatam is dangerous. We're reading a dangerous book. Did you know that? Dangerous material we have here. I don't know, should we be reading this? Yes, we should be reading Srimad-Bhagavatam. Not only we should be reading, everyone should be reading. And yes, it's dangerous. And those who will see it as dangerous in the sense that their comfort of material existence will be disturbed, we say, yes, that is our purpose. One time Srila Prabhupada said, our duty is to disturb the demons. It is our duty to disturb the demons. But we disturb them in a nice way. My dear sir, my dear madam, please take this book. Please read this book. It's a very nice book. You will find something in this book that you will not find nowhere else. You will find inner satisfaction. You will find peace, right? That's the sort of thing you say in India. People want peace and nobody's getting peace. Take this book, you will find peace. Yes. It's a dangerous book, but we won't tell them that. That they will find out later. But it is our duty to disturb the demons. But the demons are not just out there. Where are the demons? The demons are in here. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Tejase Avirabhir Bhava. Vajranaka Vajadangsha Karmashayan Randhaya Tamo. Grasa Om Svaha. Abhayam Atmani Bhuishta Om Shram. That's the mantra. We want to destroy the demonic tendency within the heart, not just out there. Yes, so many so many persons with demonic mentality are there. But where do we start working on the demonic mentality? We start within. So there's a battle going on that's being described. Here it's a very, we could say, orderly battle, but it's not so orderly either, because the dust is going up to the sun. It's also a terrible condition. And as we heard, all of this was started, why? Because of an offense to a Vaishnava. So that we want to be very careful of. And we want to be very careful about avoiding offenses to the holy name. What is the last of the 10 offenses to the holy name? Shrutvapi nama mahatmyam ya priti rahito adama aham mameti paramo namniso api aparadakrit. Even having heard so much of the glories of the holy name, Shrutvapi nama mahatmyam ya priti rahito adama, that lowest of person, thinking aham mameti, aham mama iti, aham mameti, keeping that idea supreme, parama, namni so api aparadakrit, is an offender to the holy name. So that's what we have to work, that's what it boils down to working on. We boil it down to the essential thing, aham mama. These are the problems of the demons. We can clear that all away by what process? By carefully chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki. If there's some comment or question.